you. Don't know if we'll need them or not yet. Dave can kind of decide. It's just around four, so they will. Yeah. Two keys to launch the mission. Y'all both agree with what he said?
Are you guys all ready? Anna said she's ready. Okay. Whoops. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My mic's not on.
Test, test.
May I have your attention, please? My mic is not on. You have this turned down for a reason? It's down. There's nothing coming out of it. May I have your attention, please? May I have your attention, please, to everybody in the audience? I'd like everybody to please, as quickly as you can, take a seat. We'd like to begin here. And for those of you where there are no seats, okay. Before we call the meeting to order, I would just like to make an announcement. Today is officially Constitution Day. I don't know how many people were aware of that, but it's the 228th anniversary of the day that our Constitution was signed in 1787 by 39 men who changed the course of history. We're going to begin tonight's meeting with the kickoff of Founders Week and some student presentations. So at this time, I would like to ask the choir. This is the choir from Clay High, which is led by Robin Brazelton. She's going to go ahead and bring her choir out, and they're going to line up, and then we're going to begin. At this time, I'd like to invite the board members to join the audience at the first two tables down front to take part in the presentation. After the choir lines up, then we are going to move to the presentation of colors, which will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance and a student-led prayer. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and go on down front.
March on the colors.
Carry, come. Ready, cut. Forward, march. Cover, halt. Left, hey.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
everyone could please bow their heads. Dear Lord, please help these wonderful people decide on our school system the best decisions they can make. And help everyone get through these times of great decisions. Amen.
Yeah, okay, so at this time I would like to introduce the Clay High Choir, which is led by Robin Brazelton. Okay, what a wonderful job. Outstanding. At this time, I would like to call to order the school board meeting of Clay County, Florida, September 17th, 2015. At this time, I would like to go ahead and read a proclamation declaring September 21st through the 25th as Founders Week in Clay County. Whereas the leading figures present at the country's founding, including those who were instrumental in crafting the founding documents that institutionalized individual liberty and representative government that derives its power from the consent of the governed, and whereas the moral and civic virtue, self-sacrifice, intellectual genius, and patriotism demonstrated by the country's founding fathers, and whereas the founding documents, including but not limited to the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution of the United States, the Bill of Rights, and the Federalist Papers, and whereas the historical and philosophical importance of the Declaration of Independence, with its emphasis that all people are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And whereas the principles inherent in the founding documents, including but not limited to individual freedom, equality, representative government, a free market system, civic virtue, natural law, and self-evident truth. And whereas instruction may be integrated into the existing school curriculum through methods including but not limited to supplementing lesson plans, holding school assemblies, or providing school-related activities. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the School Board of Clay County, Florida, that the week of September 21st through the 25th be designated as Founders Week in Clay County, adopted this 17th day of 2015. At this time, I would like to introduce the Ridgeview High School drama team. This will be led by Sarah Fortune.
This is the story of how James Madison came up with the document that gave everyone in our country the 10 basic rights that we still have today. However, in 1789, this process was not as easy as everyone believed. This is how the Bill of Rights was born.
So I am under a lot of pressure right now. I can do this. Okay, as a white man, what do I think I should be able to do? What are my basic human rights? Well, we said we were tired of being suppressed by the British. So let's go with that. Freedom to smell.
Why have you not showered in a week? I think there's a green cloud hanging over your head. It is my right to smell. You have no say over what I do.
No. That is a disaster waiting to happen. How about the right for freedom to listen?
No. I'm not a skill deter. I know I'm not. Of course you are. You're totally awesome, dude. Hey, that was a private conversation. And it's my right to listen.
Oh dear, I'm not off to a good start. How about the right to the freedom of speech?
I do not agree with the current controversial subject in the news right now. Well, I do agree with that same problem. Well, that's good, because it's your right to speak and feel how you like.
That's much...
Your right too!
That's much better. So Amendment 1, freedom of speech. Might as well add the freedom of press and religion to make things fair for everyone. Now on to the next one. What is another right I would like to have? I would like to be able to protect myself, so I add the freedom to arm bears. Ah, that would be awful. I can only imagine armies of angry bears. That sounds like a childhood nightmare. How about the right for bear arms? I put the emphasis on the wrong word. It's the right to bear arms. Perfect. Amendment 2, the right to bear arms. Okay, so what other injustices have the British been denying us? I sure hate having to house those lousy troops. I should make that a basic right. Quartering the troops.
Hi, I am a military officer, and I'm checking on your well-being.
Get away from me!
Ow! Why are you doing this?
This is written in the Constitution. I'm quartering one of the troops.
Ow!
Ouch! That sounds like that would be painful. Let's try to fix that. The people have the right to deny the quartering of the troops.
I am a military officer, and I would like to stay in your house.
Has Congress told the people to house and supply the troops?
Well, no.
Then, sir, I'm not required to house you.
Very well then. Thank you for your time.
Very good. Amendment 3. The people have the right to deny the quartering of the troops. So far, so good. We are working to protect our people. To the next. What else is unfair? Today, how about protection from the sprinkler?
Wow, this party is awesome! This music is grooving and everybody's having a good time! Yeah, ready to shake this up! Oh my God! I could never see how awful dance moves is! No.
Well, that is quite unfair. Men should be allowed to dance as they please. How about protection from search and seizure?
Hey, that's my bag! And I have the right to look at it if I want to. Do you have warrant or probable cause that I've done something wrong? No, I just wanted to see if you had some food. Well, you can't look at it, so give it back!
Ah, that is perfect. Keep the people's privacy. I know I don't want mine invaded. Amendment 4, protection from unauthorized search and seizure. Wow, 4 done already. Can I think of more? The gentlemen have been talking about a show called Double Jeopardy. Is that the right to win a game show called Jeopardy?
The answer is what is blue. No, the answer is what is green. I am right, and I have the right to win this game. I have to be right. It's my right too. My right! Come on!
Gosh, that would make for good entertainment, but I don't think it's such a great idea. Maybe they mean double jeopardy in the terms of the court, that you can't be tried twice for the same crime.
That hat is a crime. You should go to jail for that monstrosity. It's harmful to my eyes. Actually, I went to fashion court last week, and they only made me pay a fine, and I can't be tried twice. If you had to pay a fine for it, why are you wearing it again? I love this hat, and I can't be tried twice. That's smart.
That's a much happier ending. Amendment 5. A person may not be tried twice for the same crime. It seems that I've only covered some of the problems. I shall keep adding until I feel that the basics of our liberties have been covered. How about the next one? Staying on the subject of trials, how about the right to a 30-day product trial?
I'm thinking about returning these socks. I don't like how they feel.
Definitely do that. I'm thinking about returning this air. It's lacking a lot of oxygen.
This 30 days product trial guarantee is great.
That would be terrible for businesses. Maybe we shouldn't do that. How about the right to a fair trial?
Well, I hope I never have to go to jail for anything.
But if you do, at least you know that you're innocent until proven guilty, and you won't have any biased people in there to make unfair decisions.
That is quite comforting.
Perfect. Amendment 6 will be the right to a fair trial. I've covered quite a lot of issues, but there are so many left to deal with, especially with trials. The court system can become corrupt if we don't put in regulations. How about the right to a jury? So they can wait and look snazzy while they await their verdict.
Is this one all right? It's not sparkly enough. I need something to dazzle them, so they forget I committed a crime.
No, that wouldn't end well. Jury isn't the word I'm looking for. Jury, juice, justice, jury, the right to a jury.
Are you nervous about the trial? Of course not. All I have to do is convince the jury that I'm innocent, and it shouldn't be hard based on the evidence. And it should comfort you that the jury is unbiased and that they have no other information other than what was presented to them in court. That does make me feel better.
That should keep the courts fair for the people of this great nation. Amendment 7, the right to a jury. I feel like a superhero, saving the American people one amendment at a time. All right, on to the next. This one will save us all. The right to no cruel and unusual puns.
So, what does the clock do when it's hungry? What? It goes back for a second. Get it? Like 4 seconds? Like a second helping? But this time, you're going to jail for that cruel pun.
Oh gosh, that joke was one of the worst. But technically it is their right to say it, freedom of speech and all. So that one doesn't work. How about the right to have no cruel and unusual punishment?
Because you failed your math class, I'm going to make you listen to Justin Bieber on repeat until you're willing to learn math. That is a cruel and unusual punishment. You're breaking my rights.
I do not know who this Justin Bieber fellow is, but it must be an unusual punishment. But I'm glad it protects the people from whatever song that may be. So Amendment 8 shall be the right to no cruel or unusual punishment. I think that those cover the basics of our liberties, but I have to add in some backup clauses. Amendment 9 shall be that there are other rights other than listed here in this document. And Amendment 10 shall be that if an issue is not in this document, then it shall be handled by the state governments or the people. Perfect.
James Madison finished writing the Bill of Rights, and it was ratified by all the states in 1791. While writing this document was a challenge, knowing these rights is not. Thanks to James Madison and the rest of the Founding Fathers, we have a country that is still thriving to this day. Happy Founders Day.
While the rest of the board is returning to the dais, I just want to give a big thank you to all the student groups and their teachers for their performance tonight. I also want to thank Ms. Kelly Watt and the entire Professional Development Department for planning Founders Week and all the great activities that they did. And at this time, I just have a little personal gift that I would like to give to Ms. Kelly Watt. So if you would come on up here. This is a little bobblehead of George Washington. The last thing that I would like to call your attention to before we begin our meeting is I wanted to call your attention to this beautiful piece of artwork that's up here behind us. This is We the People. This was created by Fleming Island High School, the Academy of Visual and Performing Arts. Michael Green is the teacher, and this was created by the 2D art students. And I just want to commend them for a beautiful piece of artwork. And it is such a pleasure and an honor to have this up here behind us for tonight's meeting. So thank you very, very much. Okay. At this time, I would like to welcome all the citizens of Clay County. I want to take the opportunity to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to attend tonight's meeting. This meeting is our opportunity as your elected representatives to collaborate openly and make decisions that will decide the future direction of our public schools and the education of our children here in Clay County. If you wish to address the board, there will be an opportunity to speak for 3 minutes. Please fill out a card, which you will find located in the back of the room, and indicate the specific item number or topic that you wish to speak about, and turn it in promptly. No additional cards will be accepted once the board moves to the discussion agenda. Your participation is welcome and much appreciated. Okay. At this time, there has been no items from the consent agenda that was pulled, but we do have a couple. How many speakers did you say we have? We have 12 speakers, and these are all right here, correct? These are all, okay. So we have, first we have a couple of folks that would like to speak to item C6. So the first person is Mr. Keith Nichols.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Keith Nichols, and my address is on the card. I wanted to point out that on this personal consent agenda that you have, 3 more bus drivers resigning. The research that I did shows that we currently have 179 contract drivers covering 174 routes with 19 substitutes available. There is much more to the story, though. You see, there are many elementary routes that have 85 to over 100 eligible students assigned to them. These drivers are being asked to do 2 runs per school in order to make the numbers look right. This means these drivers are on buses for more than 3 hours at a stretch in heat stroke conditions without any break. Think about that from a safety point of view. It's already been made apparent that you don't care about the well-being of your employees, but this puts your kids at increased risk as well. Also consider that 30 support employees have already tendered their resignations within the first month of school. At last month's meeting, Mr. Van Zandt engaged in a little direct bargaining when he asked support and instruction personnel to wait until the 4th calculation before bargaining in earnest. The problem with that idea, Mr. Van Zandt, is that Rome is burning now, and if you don't put down your fiddle and pick up a fire bucket, you may have nothing but ashes by the 4th calculation. I do find it poetic that the 4th calculation happens right in the middle of campaign season, and if your bucket is full of gas instead of water, or you just keep filling around, then I can't wait to see what kind of political spin you put on that. When we decided to show solidarity today by wearing red, CESPA President Teresa Dixon commented that it would look like the schools were hemorrhaging. Well, I hope that truth isn't lost on you tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Our next speaker is Ms. Liz Crane.
Liz Crane, and you have my address for the record. Point of personal privilege, Madam Chair, if I may. I just wanted to say that it was nice to see our armed services here tonight and to celebrate the Founders Kickoff. It's also ironic because tomorrow I fly out to Washington, D.C. to run the Navy Air Force Half Marathon. And upon completion, I will be awarded the Ultimate Warrior Medal because I have run 3 races that are tied to the armed services, the Marine Corps Half, the Army 10 Miler, and then the Navy Air Force.
Wow,
Thank
congratulations.
You.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Good evening. On tonight's personnel consent agenda, you will be voting on supplements for several of our teachers. One of these teachers is our music teacher. His supplement is the elementary music performance supplement. Unfortunately, he will not be receiving this supplement because he was in a car accident on his way to school and may not return to work this year. This is not, though, why I'm speaking about this item. I'm speaking about what happened at my school after the accident. Our Coppergate Elementary Chorus was set to have their second practice last week when the accident occurred. We could have very easily canceled chorus and explained to the students and families what had happened, and no one would have raised an eyebrow. However, 3 of our teachers said without hesitation, "I'll do it. I'll meet with the students after school and practice. I'll put together their productions. I will bring these students to All County Chorus." These teachers did not want their students to lose an amazing opportunity of performing and fulfilling their love of music. These teachers stepped up without compensation and volunteered their time to make the dream of music happen at Coppergate. There are lots of teachers like that at our school. We have many programs that are in progress right now that are facilitated by our teachers. These teachers do this to fulfill a void in our students' lives. They do it to bring other areas of learning to the students because they know that it is needed. Some of these programs include Teachers of Tomorrow, unpaid; Track Team, unpaid; News Team, unpaid; Drama Club, unpaid; Seedlings Club, unpaid; 2 art clubs, unpaid; Safety Patrols, unpaid; Spelling Bee, unpaid; SAC Chair and Secretary, unpaid; and Math Team, unpaid. Please remember when you vote tonight on these supplements that there are many teachers, not just at my school, but at all schools, that are facilitating programs, events, and projects for the education of our students, and they do this without compensation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Crane. Our next speaker is Shanna Bear. Did I say that correct?
Good evening. My name is Shana Bohr, and my address is on file. I was speaking in regards to also with the or just the pay in general. I am a newly single parent, and I am a teacher with a master's degree and 12 years of teaching experience, and I qualify for federal aid. And it's devastating that I have to look and think, can I afford to stay teaching? Do I have to look for something else? Our teachers, myself included, need to be able to make a livable wage where I don't qualify for federal aid and welfare, where I know that my children will have health insurance that I can afford to pay for them. With the way that the rates are now, I cannot afford school board insurance. And that's very sad that I have to look for other ways to make sure that my children are taken care of. And so when it comes to the budget, I know that things are tight, but teachers should make a living wage and be able to pay their bills without assistance. Thank you.
Thank you. Pamela Jordan. If we could, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and call the next person up to kind of stand in the wing behind Ms. Jordan. The next person is Kathy Palmer. Go ahead, Ms. Jordan.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. As a teacher in a Title I school here in Clay County, basically what all teachers are asking for and what we're not getting is the respect and acknowledgement we deserve. We put in a great number of hours outside of our classrooms. We spend a lot of our personal money on our classrooms and our students. We are no longer making a living wage. Personally, I can't keep up with the cost of living. My expenses have gone up, my bills have gone up, my salary has stayed the same. A lot of teachers are in this condition. We are asking for respect and acknowledgement of what we do. Please help us, help Clay County maintain their excellent teachers. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person would be Cindy Marilis. And here we have
Kathy Palmer.
Kathy Palmer, yes.
My address is on the card. Good evening. My name's Kathy Palmer. I teach 3rd grade at Thunderbolt Elementary. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to address the board and my colleagues this evening. I came to Florida in the summer of 2005 to be close to family. I was ecstatic when I secured a teaching position in Clay County where I live and my children and now grandchildren attend school. I had found my dream job. I was excited at any salary or cost to be part of this wonderful school district's teaching staff. In 2005, a starting teacher's salary in the northern state that I moved from was $40,000 a year. 10 years later in Clay County, Florida, I still do not earn the equivalent amount of a starting teacher in that state that I moved from in 2005. In fact, every year my take-home pay is less than the previous year. So I've written some verse to express the frustration that I and many of my colleagues are feeling, and I've titled it, "And Still We Teach." We do not receive our employment step each year to acknowledge our experience. Still we teach. Our insurance costs and other deductions from our paychecks increase each year, and still we teach. We do not receive cost of living raises. Still we teach. We have more children than ever in our classrooms this year, beyond what the now unenforced class size amendment allows, and still we teach. We are given additional assessments, both district and state, that we are required to prepare our students for each year, and still we teach. As a third grade teacher, I'm responsible for preparing my 8 and 9-year-old students to take a giant test that determines whether they will go on to 4th grade. Still we teach. The teachers of Clay County are valuable, experienced, and dedicated employees of this district, and still we teach. We ask that you acknowledge our importance and dedication by listening and responding to the frustrations and issues being brought in front of you this evening, because what if we didn't still teach? Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Cindy Merrilees, and then behind Cindy would be Leah Norton.
Good evening. I'm Cindy Merrilees. I proudly teach at Grove Park Elementary, 4th grade this year. Just going to see if they can get a picture up for me. Oh, my granddaughter, yes. I'm just here to plead for a better salary. I started teaching in Clay County in 1984. Proudly represented the county as Teacher of the Year in 1991. I took quite a few years off to be a national education consultant. And I've been back now in the classroom for about 6 years and haven't received basically any raises for 6 years. We haven't received our step increases, which is basically awarding you for a year of experience. As Pam said, everything else has gone up except for salaries. I still love my job, but what really hit me was when I got my first paycheck this year, and my salary has actually gone down this year. I'm making less money now than I did last year, even though I have a grade chairman supplement. And in addition, I got a letter from the insurance company. It seems like my pay's gone down because of my insurance premiums, but I got a letter from my insurance company very happily stating that we were going to get a refund this year. And I would see that in either money back to me or reduced premiums this year. So I just want to know, where is all the money going? I can't imagine any employer that would expect their employees to make less money the following year than they did the year before, and that would be okay. It's hard. It's hard to make it on a teacher's salary. I am head of household. I have a 16-year-old vehicle that needs tires, and I can't afford to get them. So please, when you're thinking about the budget, think about how hard it is to make it on a teacher's salary. And we do spend 50 or 60 hours a week at our jobs because we love it. I also spent about $1,600 out of my pocket for my children last year because I teach at a school where kids live in poverty, but I don't want to live in poverty with them. Please think about that, okay?
Thank you, Ms. Merrilees. Ms. Norton, and then behind Ms. Norton is Ms. Renalee Paiva.
Good evening. My name is Leah Norton. My address is on file. I read a lot, and one of my favorite authors is the recently deceased Dr. Wayne Dyer. I was listening to a talk that he gave the other day, and he said, you can choose to be that person who wakes up, throws back the curtain, and says, "Good morning, God." Or you can choose that person to be that person who throws back the curtain and says, "My God, morning." Every day I choose to be the former type of person because I know that my happiness lies in my hands. And I remind myself, despite any frustrations, that I choose joy every single day. And I also remind my students that they have the ability to choose joy too. Now, there are always situations that are out of our control. And when I watch the news and see broadcasts about how great Clay County schools are doing with the technology and such, I find myself trying to not slip into a negative place. I spend more time troubleshooting computers or going to a plan B when I can't find a solution than I do working in small groups with my students like I should be. The technology is not top-notch in Clay. Ask any teacher how much access they have to computers that consistently function. However, we are amazing teachers, and we overcome these problems. I also make sure that I am prepared to teach science despite the fact that we are about to close out the 5th week of school and my students still do not have textbooks. I want to just not teach science, throw my hands up, and say it's not my problem that the county dropped the ball in getting the resources. Instead, I create PowerPoints, plan activities, and make lessons from scratch on my own personal time. Why do I do this on my own personal time? Because I have conferences, PLC meetings, and team meetings that fill my time before and after school. My planning time during school? Well, when do you think that I make copies, turn in paperwork and money for my elementary students to the front office, call parents to set up those conferences, meet with teachers again to discuss student performance and behavior, and the list could go on. Another one of my favorite authors is Eckhart Tolle. He eloquently wrote, "You create a good future by creating a good present." To continue to withhold money from the teachers because you all fear that what the future may hold will bring about the negative results that you are trying so hard to avoid. You need to be brave, be bold, show compassion, and do what is right before more of your teachers are 1 foot out the door. Some people may think it is selfish for me to say that if things don't change soon, I would rather find another job, which means leaving my students, than to allow myself to be unhappy. But you see, I have a different train of thought, because I think that that is the most loving thing I can do for my students, to show them that this life we have is precious, our well-being and happiness is not a gift, it's a right, and to teach them that when someone tries to devalue your self-worth by acting like you are a doormat on which they can wipe their filthy feet, you do what is right and you stand up for what you believe in.
Thank you. Thank you. Behind Miss Pivel is Smitty Huffman.
Miss McKinnon, before Miss Piper goes, Miss Norton, what school did she say she was teaching at? Swimming Penn, and there's no science textbooks.
I
Mr.
took a
Van
note
Camp,
on that.
would you look
We'll
into
get to
that?
that. We'll get to that.
Thank you.
Miss Piva.
Good evening. For 3 years, this board has known that the Clay County School District was in financial difficulty. This is no surprise to anyone. Years ago, before I was president of the CCEA, I stood before this board, and I had a clear thought and understanding what the roles of each party was. I believed then, and I still believe, that the school board is responsible for the supporting of the district and the employees of Clay County. For the past 3 months, I have asked you what you are doing to raise revenue for the District of Clay County. For 3 years, you have known and you continue to know that, that we are under the state's desired 3% fund balance. What have you done? The teachers have continued to move this county along. The only plan that we see is to again increase your employees' insurance contributions and give your employees nothing, and pray and hope that somehow on the suffering of your employees, the fund balance will magically get healthy. So again, I ask you, what are you doing to increase the revenue for this district? The answer is nothing. We, in fact, decreased the millage rate. We heard to the point of exhaustion that the state made us do it. The state always seems to make us do something. So what are we, powerless? You are not powerless. I showed you last month how Marion County School Board raised funds for the school system. The fact of the matter is that it appears that everyone except this board dictates the budget. The district level personnel presents the budget and the school board says okay. Nowhere in the budget did you allow for any increase for your employees except the increases at the district level. What company what company would again try to get financially healthy on the backs of the lowest paid employees? Only the District of Clay County would come up with the same solution that they have done for the past 3 years. Give the employees nothing and pray that the fund balance gets healthy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Paiva. Mr. Smitty Huffman. And behind Mr. Huffman is Trudy Lawless.
I'm just a country boy. I'm not.
Could you please state your name and address for the record?
Smitty Huffman.
Thank you.
It's on the record on the
Thank you.
card. I'm not quite as eloquent, so I'm going to just run through this real quick. The biggest problem I see is transparency, truth, and trust. Often, the public is misinformed. The Florida State Legislature made a decision to reduce all state employees' salaries by 3% of their base salary almost 4 years ago to compensate poorly managed retirement system and lack of funding from the legislature. It was, of course, advertised in the media that the evil teachers and unions had to suck it up and give their fair share. This became a 3% cut in pay for all teachers as well as all other state employees, basically $1,200 less of income for someone making $40,000. Times 4 years is $4,800 less income. Not representing truthfully, is not transparent and does not promote trust. 2 years after the 3% reduction in salaries, the state legislature and the governor decided to budget funds for specifically teacher salaries through the state, again, just prior to elections. Clay County schools received approximately $6.8 million, specifically for teacher and staff salaries, as stated in the state statute. It has been stated several times at school board meetings on several occasions by the superintendent and school board members that this should have been spent on other purposes, even though the state statute stated otherwise. Again, not truthful, not transparent, and does not promote trust. It was stated at the school board meetings just prior to the last election that Clay County school system was in danger of losing its accreditation because of a conflict between the superintendent and school board. Repeated by multiple politicians, including administrators, school board members, and the superintendent on several occasions. This was verified as totally inaccurate and false information by the accreditation board and was an embarrassment to Clay County throughout the Florida's educational community. Not truthful, not transparent, and does not promote trust. Teachers in Clay County are three steps behind their pay. Human Resource Department was reminded about this in February and numerous times, way prior to new hiring process and negotiations, and the potential for issues of recruiting new teachers and teachers outside the county. The Human Resource Department wanted to hire new teachers based on current years of experience, but not agree to pay current teachers the same salary. This, of course, was misrepresented to others as the reason you will not get paid according to your years of service is because the current teachers union is also evil again, and will, in reality, it has been the decision of the county.
Thank you, Mr. Huffman.
Not truthful, not transparent.
Our next speaker is Trudy Lawless. And behind Ms. Lawless is Victoria Kidwell.
Good evening. My name is Trudy Lawless. My address is on file. I was here last month to support my students who won payload space on the Cubes in Space project. I'm proud of my students. I'm proud of what they have done, and I'm also proud of what they are able to achieve. I'm also proud to work in a district that has so many educators committed to ensuring the success of their students, and I'm proud to serve in a district that's in the top 10% in the state of Florida. Being a person who enjoys numbers and statistics, I began looking, and I saw some other numbers. I found that in 2012, out of 73 districts in the state of Florida, Clay County teachers are 44th, or in the bottom 40% for pay. District personnel and administrators did not, they fared much better. I didn't feel using this somewhat outdated information was distorting the facts too much, since we haven't been given a raise since then. If anything, it's probably worse. There are some things that do concern me about our district. The fact that our Clay County Teacher of the Year felt it necessary to leave the county so that he could start a family, so that he could afford to start a family. Another thing that I think is problematic is the fact that at least 30 of our CESPA people live below the poverty level. And if that doesn't embarrass you, it should. I teach I teach engineering at junior high school, and we talk extensively about working together as a team. And I don't think there's a person here who would not be willing to help the district become more solvent. But I'm asking you to please not balance this budget again on the backs of your teacher and support people. When you see the union and the bargaining representative team, I ask that you don't let personalities get in the way. We have a job to do. When you see them, I ask you to see me and teachers like me who are doing above and beyond what you've called us to do. Bargaining should not be an adversarial process. We should be working together for the good of our school district and for the good of our students. Last year, you asked us to wait until after the fourth count, and we did, and we got nothing. When you give us 12 and a half hours, you give us pay for 25 half hours, that's not a raise. You're asking us to do more, and you're going to pay us for some of that. If you truly value your teachers, then I ask that you let your actions match your words. Thank you.
Thank you. Victoria Kidwell, and then Rebecca Smith.
Hi, I'm short. I have to pull this down. My name is Victoria Kidwell, and you have my address on file. I've been a Clay County school teacher for 16 years. I take pride in my profession and feel privileged to be surrounded by wonderful colleagues who are dedicated to serving the needs of their students. But my colleagues and I are weary and we're discouraged. Our morale is low. We don't feel appreciated or valued by the District of Clay County. The fact is that Clay County schools have made very clear choices since 2009. They've chosen to put teachers and support staff last. For 6 years, Clay County School Board has failed in their responsibility to budget a raise or compensation to attract the finest staff and faculty for Clay County. As educators, we understand about tight budgets. We understand about making choices and about prioritizing your needs. The superintendent and school board have shown their priorities in this year's budget. We saw their priorities when they cut 80 teacher positions and many support staff positions. They saved a few $1 million. We saw their priorities when they created new positions at the county level. They added personnel to the county office. Their priorities were loud and clear when individuals at the county office got raises, generous ones, $4,000, sometimes $40,000. And that was in the middle of a budget crisis. Clay County schools made these choices based on their priorities. In fact, these choices added so much in salary and benefits to the county budget that it consumed all the savings that they used when they fired all those teachers. It's all about choices. It's all about priorities. What helps students achieve? What's most important on that list? What choices are right for a tight budget? Why are teachers and support left off the list every year? If an assembly of generously paid office personnel in Green Cove Springs is your priority, then you're very satisfied with this budget. If it's not, if you want to retain, reward best teachers and staff, then you're not very happy. Teachers and support staff are on the front lines. They are dedicated to serving students every day. I believe they are the reason that this school system is great. Teaching today is not like it was when I was first started teaching. Each year, the load of non-teaching responsibilities increases. Teachers expect to spend hours planning lessons for new standards and searching for curriculum resources. That's teaching. But now we do 10 million other things too, secretarial type things. And we have to do them in our own time because there's no time to do them in our day. 6.5 hours of my day is spent with children. That's the way it needs to be. I'm paid for a 7.5-hour day. Half of that leftover hour is at meetings, duty, running, making conferences, doing paperwork, all the things that have to get done. Sometimes I get to use the bathroom. Sometimes I get to eat a yogurt. Sometimes not. I do my best for my students. I take priority in what I do. They're at the top of my list. Please make us a priority.
Thank you, Ms. Kidwell. Ms. Rebecca Smith. And then our last speaker will be Dylan Fagan.
My name is Rebecca Smith, and I live at 25 Bitterroot Avenue in Middleburg. I am a Clay County employee. I am a Clay County school bus driver. Since our school started, transportation's having it rough. We've worked, we didn't get paid. They took 20 hours of my pay and told me, hey, clerical error, you can wait till the 15th. Now, I'm telling you something, priorities are messed up. We worked those hours. When I did get my paycheck, guess what the balance was? I had 7 days with 20 hours they paid me for, finally. I ended up walking away with $75 and some change because the insurance is out of control. I do my job. I get up at 4 in the morning so I could be out on my bus, leaving out of the compound by 5:45. I drive from Middleburg to Green Cove. I've got gas expense. I don't work out of Middleburg. Yes, I did request it, but I didn't get it. But, you know, that's the way the ball bounces. But when I work, I expect to be paid. I mean, come on, people. I mean, for real. I mean, these people out here are school bus drivers and monitors, and we didn't get paid. And you're telling me to wait? A check could have been wrote out. But we told, oh, no, we can't do it. If we knew a day before, we could have did it. That didn't help. You know, we had drivers out here that had their dead husband. They had to pawn his ring for gas. Shame on you. I mean, for real. I'm not making this up. This is for real. There's people I had to help out with food. They didn't have food. Electrics got turned off. People couldn't pay their mortgage. Well, guess what? The mortgage company says, they ain't my problem. You're messing with the credit now, the credit rating. I mean, for real, people, this is our lives you're messing with. Do the right things. We elected y'all. We elected y'all. And believe you me, all of us out here, we voters. We vote you in, we can vote you out. Now, I have stood up at these meetings. I have stood up at these meetings and time again and told you how bad this is when you support people. And it's getting to the point now, we've had enough. Do the right thing. That's all I got to say about it. Do the right thing.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Our last speaker is Dylan Fagan.
My name's Dylan Fagan. My address is on file. Tonight I'm speaking both as a teacher in the district and a parent of 2 children. As a teacher, I'm frustrated. As a parent, I'm outraged. I'm outraged that this board has gone out of its way to allow charter schools into this district after previous boards have fought to keep them out. These charters now reach something like $8 million out of our budget. This is money that could be used to fund our schools in a more appropriate manner. I wonder if it's coincidence that our schools are seeing arts, music, and other electives cut while these new charters post such classes. I'm outraged because of this budgetary shortfall that we had to cut 80 teachers in the district over the past year. As a result, classes are bigger than ever, and our district is deliberately choosing to allow the class size amendment to be broken. As an English teacher with 5 classes over the maximum of 25, I can tell you that I am less effective as a result. Both common sense and volumes of research show that the 2 most important things for student achievement are an abundance of meaningful reading and writing assignments. It's not technology, PLCs, wall-to-wall academies that are going to produce results. It's reading and writing. When I have 150 papers to grade each time I assign work, the work becomes less meaningful because of the time it takes to grade. Not to mention, when working in class, there's hardly any way for me to meet with even half of my students in a single period. There's just too many bodies in the room. Our district also bought new English books recently, and they're terrible, by the way. High school classes were allotted 1 class set of 25. I have more than 25 in every single one of my classes. The fact remains that the teachers in Clay have not seen a significant pay raise for the better part of a decade. Insurance premiums are going up, job responsibilities are ever increasing, demanding more and more of our time and leaving less and less of us for our students. If I were a conspiracy theorist, I'd say that our teachers are being intentionally targeted by being overburdened and undervalued. If you can frustrate teachers so much, they will eventually leave. I have a degree in education and 16 years experience, so I'm vested. There's not much choice for me to leave, and I really don't want to because I love what I do in the classroom. But if you want to see a clear symptom of what's plaguing the district, look at your speech therapists. They're on the teacher salary scale. They're leaving in droves. I heard the shortage is the greatest we've seen in 20 years. Why? Because they are paid disrespectful wages and are continually given increased workloads. Their caseloads and therapy sessions numbers are up, just like class loads. Their conditions mirror teacher conditions, but they have an out, the private sector. Our district website has a plan to make our schools great, but our schools have always been great. So if we need a plan to get back there, you have to ask yourself, what's changed?
Thank you. Okay, that was the last of the speakers for items on the consent agenda. At this time, I will bring adoption of the consent agenda.
Before we
Entertain a
move
motion.
forward, I'd like to know what school Mr. Fagan teaches at. Thank you.
Okay.
Again, with no books, we need to address this.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion for adoption of the consent agenda.
I'll move approval.
I have a motion for approval by Ms. Gilhausen
I'll second.
and a second by Ms. Condon. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
I heard 3. All those opposed say no. I guess motion carries 5-0.
Oh, I said aye.
Oh, okay. Okay. Next item up is recognition and awards. Mr. Van Zant.
In the Clay County School District, we simply couldn't do what we do every day with only the people that work for us. There's a lot of people that volunteer to work with us, lots and lots. One of those that continues to just kind of pop up on my radar is every year since I've been superintendent, as we go back to school, several churches through the area and other organizations pull together school supplies. The Journey Church, Mr. Eric Jaffe, Pastor Jaffe, would you come join me, please? Eric Jaffe's with us tonight. He's the pastor of the Journey Church. Every year they've held a drive for school supplies. They've set out parts of their church budget, which comes from the charitable giving from their parishioners. They take these school supplies, lay them out in a huge room in their facility, say some prayers, and pretty much ask for a blessing over our schools, our students, the supplies, and then pack all those supplies into backpacks and give them out. Over the last 3 years, they've donated over 600 backpacks in anywhere from a dozen to 20 of our schools. Our principals email Ms. Bush and let them know how many school supplies they need and what specifically they may need in them. So you just can't get that kind of support. That just comes straight from the heart. And I just have a humble certificate to share with you. And if you'd like to say anything to all these wonderful people you've helped support, you feel welcome to. Thank you, Mr. Van Zandt.
Thank you to the board for allowing us to do it, the administrative staff, the teachers, and the students. We have been blessed every year, as he said, to donate over 600 backpacks full of supplies to the students of Clay County. In the past 8 years, my math is not that great, but somewhere over 5,000 or 6,000 backpacks we've been able to give to the students, and it's our great honor. So I'd just like to publicly thank the people of Journey Church for helping make that happen, and thank you for allowing us to do it.
Thank you, Pastor Jaffe. Okay, the next item is recognition of Ridgeview High School to recognize Joe Mayo for support of Chick-fil-A Leadership Academy. And I believe that would be Scott Thomas, a Ridgeview High School Academy teacher leader.
First off, thank you so much for the school board and Mr. Van Zant for allowing us to be here today. Let me introduce a few people who are here. This is Mr. Mayo, who's being recognized. He's the owner-operator of the Middleburg Chick-fil-A. Okay. We have Anthony Ruiz, okay, a student in the Ridgeview Chick-fil-A Leadership Academy. Christina Thomas, who was a co-sponsor of the Academy, and Bailey Layton, also a student in the Academy. I just want to give you a brief background. Last year, Mr. Mayo, was very kind enough to sponsor the first year of the Chick-fil-A Academy at Ridgeview High School. That academy ended up doing amazing things. It partnered with Coca-Cola, Ace Hardware, Winn-Dixie, the St. John's Riverkeeper, and gave away about $15,000 worth of rain barrels to the community. It was an amazing event, and none of that would have happened without Mr. Mayo and the Academy. This year, we came with the understanding that we were going to have to pay for the Academy. The Academy costs $4,000 a year to be a part of. And Mr. Mayo, corporate Coca-Cola, and corporate Chick-fil-A came together and have agreed to sponsor our Academy for 3 years at $12,000.
Wow. Fantastic.
At this time, I'd like to bring up Anthony Ruiz to present a plaque for Mr. Mayo. Anthony, would you please read the inscription?
The plaque is inscripted in, Ridgeview High School is proud to honor Mr. Joe Mayo for his commitment to the development of the student servant leadership skills in the Chick-fil-A Leader Academy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayo. Appreciate it. Okay, our next item under presenters, we did have somebody scheduled that was going to come and speak, but he called today and requested to postpone until next month, so that has been scratched off the agenda. Next item up is scheduled citizens request, and we have none, so at this time I would like to just announce that this would be the last call for speaker cards before we move to the discussion agenda.
Before we go, can I have a question for you.
Sure.
I'm looking through the agenda here of what we have approved for the consent, and nowhere on here do I see the resolution that was read in at the beginning of the meeting. Did we approve that at another time? I went back and checked last month's meeting, and there's no resolution on there, so
okay, I'll look into that.
we
definitely.
will have to
Yeah. Okay.
address that.
I don't know that that's, I mean, the board can do whatever its pleasure is with the resolution. Florida statute says that each school district will do all the things that were on there, so we did those. You're free to, we can put it on next month. I believe this was just drafted within the last week in preparation here.
Yeah.
So you certainly complied with state statute.
Well, I think
So I
if
guess
we're
one of the
going to-
questions would be is that something that even requires, Mr. Sykes, does that require?
It's ceremonial in nature.
Okay.
I would tell you probably it'd be better to go ahead and vote on it and accept it, but at the exact same time, I don't think it's really required because it's ceremonial in nature.
Okay, all right.
I think just past practice, like when we have a fair resolution and different
Yeah.
things like that, we normally do approve a resolution.
Okay, well, if you guys want, we can
Well,
bring it
it's-
to the board next month and get it on there and approve it.
should, and
Okay.
then every year just bring it
Okay,
back.
absolutely. Can we make sure that happens? Okay. Okay, this time we're going to move to the discussion agenda. So the first item up is superintendent.
I'd like to thank everybody who's participated here tonight. It's great to look out and see all this red, white, and blue. I appreciate everybody dressing to support Founders Week. I know I did. You know, we can never forget that we've been blessed to live here in the greatest country on earth and why the United States was founded. And I think all the students tonight, from the drama club at Ridgeview, the choir from Clay High, the Navy Junior ROTC from Fleming Island High, we're doing several things right in Clay County to inspire those kids to come out on an evening and their sponsors to put this together. Hey, and it's no secret, our financial picture the last several years hasn't been what I'd call fantastic. I think some days it's more important what we do with what we have than wishing we had more. We certainly do a lot. I've traveled up and down to Tallahassee, made more financial requests than anybody I've ever known to have the job I have. Sometimes I ask and get, sometimes I ask and don't get as much. But that is being done on your behalf and on our students' behalf consistently. Also, just to clarify a couple things for everybody, the Department of Education each year ranks district by district, and there are more than 67 school districts. There are 67 counties and then some other smaller consolidated districts. But Clay ranked second out of those 73 districts in Florida in money spent in the classroom. We reprioritized this past year and spent a little more, so we'll see how we rank this next year. Clay County spends about 84% of its annual budget this year on our people. We don't make widgets. We employ people and pay them salaries and benefits to teach students, to drive students, to make meals, to administer the schools, and all those wonderful things that we do. The national average in school districts is about 80%, and we're about 4% higher than the national average in the percent of the budget we have and what we compensate our people with. There are some districts that go beyond their fiscal limitations, and they end up in financial distress, and I appreciate our board demonstrating the fiscal responsibility they need to do so that doesn't happen in Clay County. When I took office 3 years ago, the preceding 4 years, about $50 million between the unreserved fund balance and federal stimulus money, both non-reoccurring pots of money, was expended in reoccurring budget items to keep as many jobs and pay our people what we could pay them. That's just a little note of history. So in 4 years, from 2008 to 2012, when our country, our county, our state was going through the greatest financial distress since the Great Depression, $50 million of non-reoccurring funds were expended. In the last 3 years, we've had no choice other than to not spend more than we take in, just like you do at home. That's kind of where we're at. The revenue that comes in can be prioritized and spent, and again, we spend the majority of it supporting our classrooms. That's pretty dry financial roll-up, but it's just facts, so I'll throw them out there. But I wanted to share with you why I do what I do. I have 2 students in our schools, a 4th grader and a 7th grader. I walk through their classrooms and others, and as I do that, I look for my students like I know other parents look for their students, and what's in there? What resources do they have? What kind of staffing do they have? What kind of support do the teachers have? And if I'm satisfied with what they have, then I know that's probably good for the other 36,000 students in Clay County. And if I'm not, or I see things that are lacking or that we would like to have, I take that approach in coming back and working with staff and working with this board to prioritize what I think that we need in our schools every day. My friends and family ask me sometimes, how do you like your job? What is your job? And I tell them, I have the greatest job in the world, and I truly believe that. It's not felt like work one day. It is a lot of work. It is a lot of hours. But never have I had more unbridled opportunity in any position I've ever been honored to hold than in this one. So I just wanted to share that with you. We are, like one of the speakers said, have a plan to make this a great district. I believe we have a very solid and great district now, but I believe we can get better. We're working on getting better at every level. And I thank you sincerely for the work that you do every day in our classrooms. That's all I have for you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Van Zant. Okay. The next item up is under Deputy Superintendent, item D2, discuss the 2016 legislative priorities. This does not need a motion. It's just up for discussion.
I'll start. I just wanted to say that I appreciate the draft priorities that have been put together. They echo, I think, what we've heard from our parents, our teachers, our students in some cases, and what we are looking for from our legislature this year. I know committee meetings start next month, and then with sessions starting in January, I think that, I know that I have made it very clear to our local legislators what we need for them to bring back from Tallahassee. And so I'll be willing to support it in any way that I can.
Okay. Is anybody else?
Guess it's up to me. Yeah, I like what Ms. Cornegay put together. I'm glad to see she used some of the things from the Florida School Board Association. One of the things I'd like to see us possibly add is, if you have with you the FSBA list, number 13, substantially increase the base student allocation to cover inflation, workload adjustments, and provide salary increases for teachers and other district employees. We should add that into under our funding section. But other than that, I think everything else is good that we've got on here.
Would you read that again?
Number 13, under the FSBAs, it says, substantially increase the base student allocation to cover inflation, workload adjustments, and provide salary increases for teachers and other district employees.
I would definitely echo that sentiment. Definitely.
I agree. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
So do we need a motion to amend?
No.
No, this is just discussion.
It's a draft,
right?
yeah. So I think I'm taking notes. Mr. Van Zandt is taking notes, and I think we can give this back to Ms. Cornegay and have that item added.
I've captured that one, and if y'all have anything else you, by consensus, would like to add, I can add that and bring it back to you next month for adoption.
I think less is more. I mean, really, it's pretty clear. We need funding, and we need more funding and less testing.
Yeah. Yep.
Absolutely.
I agree. Okay. Any other discussion on this?
I had a couple of specific ideas. They kind of tie into the more general statements here, but I'll just share them with you. And this is coming from a sort of focus group of parents that I spoke with. One parent spoke with me about the opt-out movement that's happening, and her question was, could we petition for a process from the state legislators to opt out of standardized testing in order for parents and students to choose a portfolio review and somehow allow that to not penalize the teacher or the school or the student for having an alternative approach to the standardized test. I know that's a little more specific, and I don't know if we want to get in the weeds when I feel like this first statement, halt the practice of using statewide standardized tests, is pretty comprehensive. If they stop the standardized testing altogether, then that is kind of a moot point. And then one of the other suggestions I thought was worth noting was to petition to use a nationally normed test like the SAT or ACT until all the kinks, technology and otherwise, have been worked out with the FSA. And there's a test that they mentioned called the Iowa test. That would.
Yep, I do believe that's the test that the Seminole County had proposed as well.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And so I totally agree with that. I think that would be something that we could also maybe put in here. Do you have some specific wording on how?
I just took notes.
Taking notes. Okay. Ms. Cornegay can figure it out. Okay.
She'll come up with the wording for it, but just the Iowa test is
what.
Right. And I gave her a copy of all the Seminole stuff that I've gotten, so she has that.
Excellent. Okay.
I think that might, even though it's a more specific, and it would be covered by these more general things, I feel like maybe if we take small bites, we might get a little bit further.
Okay. Anything else?
I think what we should do is ask Ms. Cornegay to draft this and email it to the board members so that we could
Can
see
review
it
it.
with time before it gets posted on the backup in case there's things that we all want to change the language on. And then at next month's meeting, it'll be posted in the format that we're comfortable with.
Okay. Noted. We can do that. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay. Next item is D3, Human Resources, Special Action A. I will entertain a motion for approval.
I move approval.
Second.
I have a motion for approval by Ms. Condon, a second by Ms. Studdard. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. Okay. We finally move into presentations from the audience. And before we hear the cards, Superintendent, you have a comment you'd like to make? You have anything? I have it on here. Okay. We'll go ahead and begin with our speakers' requests. The first item we have here under presentation from the audience, Mr. Keith Nichols.
Again, my name is Keith Nichols, and my address is on the file card. We often hear about funding for STEM and technology in the classroom. Now, it is my sincere hope that the Sea of Red tonight reminds you that education is a people business. It should be clearly evident to you that you cannot buy enough technology to replace your instructional or support staff. Incidentally, Mr. Van Zant, while 80% may be the national average, last time I checked, the state average here in Florida was 82%. So considering that we are one of the few districts in full compliance with the class size amendment, we shouldn't demonize 85%. Now, I have shown each board member here several examples where administrators have lied to them to advance their own agenda. And I'm not saying misinformed because it was outright lies. As our elected officials, it is your responsibility to exercise oversight, enforce integrity among our administrators. We expect you to be leaders, and these administrators are as much your employees as I am. They expect me to do my job, and you should expect them to do yours, or excuse me, theirs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Ginger Burris, and then after Ginger Burris is Laura Mayberry.
Good evening. My name is Ginger Burris, and my address is on record on the card. I've heard a lot tonight about the budget and how we're in a budget crisis. And I find it very interesting that today I tried to find job descriptions to make sure the information I'm going to present to you is valid, and all of a sudden they're not available on the website. Anybody's job descriptions. But particularly, I want to address the issue of bargaining. I've gone to a few bargaining sessions, and I've had the opportunity to observe that. And I find it interesting that if we're in such a budget crisis, why are we paying 2 people on the 6 or 7 person school board side a $1,500 stipend when they ratify a contract if it's already included in their job description? Is that not why they're getting a salary? Because I'm pretty sure I don't get compensated additionally for doing what is already outlined in my job description as my requirements. That's what my evaluation and my salary is for. And I find it very appalling that we've had numerous teachers and support people come up here and speak on behalf of the budget. And like they said, everybody's getting charged more for insurance, everybody's getting charged more for everything across the board, but our salaries are going down. My paycheck was also less this year, and it's my 12th year in the system. I haven't seen a raise in, I think, 4 years now, and that's sad. I'm not going to specifically name the 2 positions, but I'm pretty sure that we can all determine what those 2 positions are. If we could have looked at the job description, I would have been happy to read it for you, but I know it was there. Not sure what's happened with our IT section to all of a sudden nothing be available today for us to be able to access that, but I did check it multiple times today. I have a couple things I want to leave you guys with is, do not withhold good from those who deserve it when it's in your power to help them. It's in your power to help these people. Provide for your teachers, students, and your teachers in this county and your support people. It's your responsibility. We elected you. We hold you accountable because you're our voice. And if we can't count on you, then we need to figure out who we can. The second thing I would like to leave you with is if others are still depending on you, then it's not time to stop. Don't stop running the race until you know you have done everything in your power to make sure that you possibly have done what you can do. That's why I stand here tonight. And again, I'm sure you've heard it before and you'll hear it again. United we stand.
Thank you. Laura Mayberry, and then Wanda Clymer?
Laura Mayberry, you have my address on file. When I returned to work this August, one of the first things on my agenda was to get my class website on Blackboard ready for my students. I teach seniors, and I think it's very important to expose them to online learning systems. I have used Blackboard ever since it came online in Clay County, and I think it's an amazing tool. So you can imagine my surprise when I tried to log in and discovered that Blackboard had been taken offline. I had received the email notification about the new features in Focus, but I thought, surely they wouldn't get rid of a well-established program and replace it with a totally new one without an overlap of at least a semester so that teachers could have time to make the transition. But that's exactly what happened. I checked my email to make sure that I hadn't missed something, and there it was. An email sent on June 3rd, the last day of school, notifying us that we were moving to the One Clay platform. It never said definitively that we would have no access to Blackboard. Subsequent emails stated that more functions would be available in Focus, and I guess we were supposed to spend our summer time learning this new platform. I have lost hundreds of hours of work that I put into and stored in my Blackboard courses, and there's no way to get it back. I have contacted the county office about this, but have not received a response. Do the people making these decisions realize how ridiculous it is to tell teachers on the last day of school that something this important is changing? It would have been a small relief if the new program was better, but Focus has been a disaster. We are over a month into school, and I still have students that cannot see their grades or their class websites. The site goes down almost every day. Some functionality will not be available to students until October. My students are frustrated, and so am I. Technology is mentioned in 3 different indicators in the CAS evaluation tool. If I worked as little as Focus does, I'd score a needs improvement. Every time I turn around, I get another email about some shiny new program that the county has bought into. And don't get me wrong, I'm not some old curmudgeon who doesn't like change. But it often seems like we are changing things just for the sake of change and without true buy-in from teachers. I'd like to know exactly when the county thinks we have time to sit down and learn all these new programs. For a county that's all about the instructional framework, it's a little frustrating to be told to just go watch a couple of videos instead of having real trainings. Maybe we can make that a PLC. I taught 5 economics lessons today, but I thought I'd come here and teach a 6th. This county seems to be all about capital outlays and technology, but the most important piece of capital in the classroom is human capital, our teachers. Thank you.
Thank you. Wanda Clymer, and then Teresa Dixon.
Good afternoon. My name is Wanda Clymer, and my address is on the card. I've been to more than one of these meetings, and at the very first and second meeting I was at, every one of you were offered the chance to ride a school bus with one of us bus drivers. None of you have taken us up on that.
I did.
Well,
I've
if you
ridden
did,
the bus.
did you ride one of them in the hot afternoon when it was 126 degrees?
Well, no.
If you did, God bless you, because then you know what we go through. If you didn't, then everybody needs to, and not during the wintertime, unless it's a cold morning like I had last year that there was no heat on my bus, but I still ran my route. But besides all of that, when drivers were not paid for their in-service, we took that to every person we could take that to. Mr. Van Zant, you could have had that problem corrected, but instead we were sent an email, not by you, but by someone else who said, this will be corrected as quick as humanly possible. I have been in the clerical field before, and when you have a deadline, you meet that deadline. If you see that you can't meet that deadline, you ask for help and you ask for overtime. I don't know what the problem was exactly, but the only person who told us the truth about when we would get that pay was Robert Warrenberg, the person who you keep pushing to cut the budgets so we get nothing. On the first day of school, we had bus drivers broken down when we have mechanics that work 12 months out of a year. That person who messed up our in-service pay works 12 months out of the year. They get paid year-round. I don't, and neither do any of this other support staff. As for our pay and our insurance, we have support staff. We also probably have teachers who are walking around with medical issues that need to be fixed, but we can't because we can't afford it. We have to take what money we have to pay for gas to get back and forth to work. I mean, all of you go to work every day. You know how much money it costs to run a vehicle. Well, if I can't run my vehicle because I'm not getting paid, then who else is going to drive the bus? It took me longer to get a job as a bus driver than it's ever taken me to get any job. I had to go through more background checks than I've ever had to go through, and I worked with detox patients before. I used to make $38,000 a year, so I know what it's like to make that kind of money. I don't even make $20,000 a year now, not even close. And I don't live above my means. As a matter of fact, I live well below them. I can't afford to live on my own. I am single. My children are grown. I have grandchildren and a great-granddaughter. So by all means, do not think for 1 minute I go and waste my money because I don't. But I do need the respect and the honor that I deserve because I do my job and I do it well, just like everybody else.
Thank you, Ms. Clymer. Teresa Dixon, and then Mary Bola.
Hello, my name is Teresa Dixon, and you have my address on file. I just wanted to take a moment to remind you of just a few things that support employees do. They keep the buildings maintained, perform repairs, repaint, replumb, rewire, remove, and reinstall. They keep the heat and the air going, keep the roof from leaking, and keep the doors and windows working. Build shelving, put together tables and chairs, hang chalkboards, whiteboards, and bulletin boards, and deliver supplies. They install lighting, smart classrooms, and huge conglomerations of technological devices, and they keep them working. They transport students, maintain vehicles, and plan the pickups and the drop-offs. They make sure students are safe. They turn on and off the lights, lock and unlock the doors, clean the rooms, clean the vomit, scrub the toilets, sanitize the sinks, replace light bulbs, mow lawns, mop and sweep floors, and empty trash. They greet visitors, parents, and community members, keep educational records, health records, attendance records, residency records, double-check graduation requirements, ensure custodial orders are followed, type correspondence, maintain a multitude of files, input IEPs, schedule meetings, take calls, and enter hundreds of thousands of pages of data. They cook, serve, and feed students, change diapers, bandage boo-boos, take temperatures, give medicine, and provide life-saving practices. They tie shoes, read books, listen to children read, create educational tools, copy worksheets, grade papers, display work, tutor struggling students, redirect behavior and short attention spans, and support learning and assist teachers. We're well past the days of the one-room schoolhouse where there was a school mom responsible for all of these duties in addition to teaching. And I can't even imagine a day without the hard work of these support employees. But the reality is that though the district could not function without them, these employees feel devalued and unappreciated. I said at an earlier meeting that all the best laid plans by district leadership would be nothing more than scribbles on a paper napkin if it weren't for the hard work of support employees who turned those plans into reality. While those plans may be laid at the district office, the real work and the real reason for all we do is found at ground zero, where the students are found. And that's where our priority should be. To do that, though, we have to have and keep quality employees and teachers. I ask the board to consider the outcry from parents and community members, all voting citizens, when they realize that their children's best interest is not at the top of the list, and they're instead increasingly subjected to a revolving door of inexperienced workers replacing those dedicated workers who can no longer tolerate being treated as though they are expendable commodities.
Thank you. Mary Bola, and then Mary Peasy.
Mary Bola, my address is on file. I'm a fifth grade teacher at Argyle Elementary School, and I'm proud of each and every one of the students that I have had the pleasure to teach over 16 years. I believe the last time I spoke to the school board, I was encouraging the board to continue the year-round school at Ridgeview Elementary. It's been a while. I try to participate, but don't always feel moved to approach the podium. On Sunday in church, while hearing the lesson, I realized I felt compelled to speak. A reading from the Holy Bible, the book of James, chapter 3, verse 1. Not many of you should become teachers, my fellow believers, because you know that we who teach will be judged more strictly. We who teach are being judged and have been judged for the past years. The school board budget has not appropriated a step increase for teachers who have taught here during that a long time. The priority has to change. Realizing that budgets have been considered tight during many of these years, I was willing to make the sacrifice that many were making throughout our country. However, more recently, I'm seeing the advertising campaign that's coming out of the school board, and I'm getting tired. Last school year, the banner on the website read, "Clay teachers rank 8th in the state." I thought, wow, we're being recognized. No, we were being advertised so that the folks would be impressed. Currently, the new ad campaign is Top 10 Clay, the plan to become a top school district. My undergrad degree is in business. And as many of you on the board know, a good ad campaign goes a long way in making the company look great. Our school system is a business. I'm very aware of that. Our business is working with children. None of you as board members have had the pleasure of being a fifth grade teacher. We answer to the children, their parents or guardians, other teachers through PLCs, our administration, you as school board members, and the many layers of administration in Green Cove Springs at the board offices. A business is only going to be as successful as its product, which is made possible by its employees. When you've stepped on the back of your employees to be successful, which is pretty much how I feel, how I've heard other teachers feel, how our aides, secretaries, custodians, and other employees feel, the ad campaign will fail. It is time to be innovative. It is time to engage with those who make this school system successful, its teachers and support staff. It is time to empower us and make us your priority. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Peasy, and then Amy Smith.
I don't do very well with these. I speak loud in my class. I'm Mary Pizzi. My address is annotated on the card. I'd like to address the importance of communication between staff, teachers, administration, and our county office. The contract negotiations have gone to impasse. As a union member, I only hear what is relayed through our union representatives. So I'd like to put my parent hat on at this time. This is what I'm hearing at home. The union is coming to the table with several items to consider, and the county representatives are coming empty-handed. I'd like to fill in the blanks, because there are always blanks that need to be filled in. So, as a parent, may I address one of them? Mr. Van Zant, you addressed the issue of administrators at the county office, the ones who received an increase in salary. The blanks were filled in. The individuals moved to a higher position, and their salary was matched to those who are the outgoing personnel. Okay, that sounds reasonable. It's a business. It might not be the one we like, but it sounds reasonable. But my question is, do the personnel in question have all the certifications required to successfully carry out the duties listed in their job descriptions? For personnel and human resource positions, do they have any of the following certifications that other businesses require of their HR personnel? A degree in human resource or its equivalent, Professional HR Certification, PHR, Senior Professional HR Certification, SPR, Global Professional HR Certification, which is GPHR. If not, will we as a county allow a certain amount of time to acquire one of these certifications as we do for our out-of-field teachers, When it comes to personnel management problems, we want our leaders to be at the top of their game and able to assist us to the utmost of their professional ability. As a business management major, I'm concerned with the lack of professional certification requirements for our upper management that businesses outside of the education arena require to ensure all legal ramifications concerning personnel matters are met. Therefore, this brings me back to my parent hat. Do we have HR personnel who are qualified and skilled in the negotiating process and who may successfully contribute to negotiations with our union representatives in order to prevent an impasse? Your dialogue is appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Amy Smith, and then Sandra Spencer.
My name is Amy Smith, and my address is on record on the card. I love my job. Like I said last time I was up here last month, I love my kids. I don't like the way this school board is going. I'm a graduate from Clay High School. I love this county, but like I said, not the direction. I've been working with transportation now for 4 years. I have every time gotten my in-service pay at the beginning of my first check. I did not get it. I had to borrow money from my brother to be able to feed my 2 kids, one that is special needs, that has to have certain foods. You know how close my electricity came to getting cut off because I did not get that money? Granted, it may not be much money to y'all, but it's a lot to me. I have 2 little ones I have to care for that are in y'all's school system, in 1st grade and 2nd. Next thing is, I can't have y'all's insurance. Way too high. Way too high. I have to take my husband's insurance. His is high too, but it's a little bit less than y'all's. With the special needs child, you got to weigh your options. I don't live outside my limits. I know what I have to spend each month, and then some, because I never know what that second circumstance is about to be. Next thing is, the teachers, yes, they deserve a raise. But what about your support staff? What if there was no bus drivers to be able to bus them kids to school? I know for a fact my kids, if they miss the bus, their parents don't take them. They'll have them sit at the house. I sit there at a bus stop and wait when I see all these kids running out of the houses and stuff trying to get to the bus stops, running down the roads. They're way down the road, and I'm sitting there waiting. I have times I am supposed to keep. Can't keep them, because if I don't wait, my kids ain't going to school. Those kids ain't going to school, them teachers ain't going to be able to teach them. So when y'all need to think about y'all support staff as well for our raises, get something, throw us something, show that you actually care about your staff. Every single one of y'all have been voted in. I'm a voter. My husband's a voter. Everybody in my family votes. Many of them out here do. We want something. Show that we are appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Sandra Spencer, and then Elaine Nabors.
Hello, my name's Sandra Spencer, and my address is on the card. I am speaking today as both a teacher and a parent of children who attend the Clay County schools. I have worked for Clay County School District since 1998. I have been a highly effective teacher for 15 of those years. And to be honest, I'm tired. I'm tired of having to take on this financial burden of the district that continues to remain in financial disarray. The same excuse of not having any money is finally falling on deaf ears. We have heard that same excuse for too long now, while the board has continued to approve more district office positions with big salaries and approve raises for district office administration, maybe why we're at that 84%. We no longer feel guilty for standing up for ourselves. We are here to make you hear us. We are angry that we have continued to make this district one of the best in the state year after year. Second last year, thanks to Mr. Van Zant letting us know that. And no appreciation for that. Just more excuses and more work year after year. We don't want to just hear it anymore. We want you to show us how much you appreciate what we do for this county and our students. Excellent teachers and staff are leaving this county. Our teacher of the year went to a different county, for crying out loud. When I signed my contract as a beginning teacher in 2000, I agreed to a salary schedule that included step raises yearly. I am now sitting here 3 steps behind, and it would have been 5 if it hadn't been for the governor's money a few years ago, which I remember at the time the board having a fit about, trying to give us raises. Or giving us the step, I should say. If you ask me, the CCEA bargaining team was too nice. $1,000 per teacher was a gift. 55 cents per hour, that was letting you off easy. I think we should be given our 3 steps. That way we would actually be at where we're supposed to be, and you don't have to worry about telling your new hires that they're going to start 3 steps behind, to be fair to those of us that have been here and have been loyal for 15, 16 years. And don't get me started on the health insurance. The cheapest family plan through the district is $857.28 per month, and that is before the $3,000 family deductible. That must be paid 100% because it's a high deductible plan before the benefits kick in. I don't know about you, I got 3 little boys. I can't afford that. And your employees are not happy. Is that the kind of company and reputation you want to showcase to the world? As a parent, I am also very upset because the salaries are now affecting my kids in your schools. My son has an IEP for speech. His IEP says that he's supposed to be receiving speech services weekly. However, we're in week 5. He has not had 1 speech service since school started. Not 1. Let me tell you something. Maybe if we had a more competitive salary and insurance package, teachers and staff would not leave, and more prospective employees would be attracted, like speech therapists, to work here. I don't know the math, but I would bet you that if enough parents sought legal action for their student not receiving the mandated services, then it would probably cost this county way more than those 3 steps.
Thank you, Ms. Spencer. Elaine Mayborg. And then Kim Stacy.
Elaine Neighbors, and my address is on file.
Yes.
She just did a great job saying a lot of what I was going to say, and so have so many other people out here. But I'm going to say my piece anyway because I've got my 3 minutes. So this is the first year ever that the first day of school I asked myself how many more first days of school I have in me. That's really sad, guys. I never want to be that teacher that you hear about that gets so burnt out that they're only in it for the money. That was a joke. Just collecting that paycheck. And so that's really important to me. I've said that to my assistants. Hey, if I ever get so burnt out that I'm no longer effective, please tell me so I can get out, because it's not good for anybody. So I'm really worried about the fact that that's the question I asked the first day of school. How many more first days do I have in me? Because I'm exhausted, guys. I'm tired. I'm tired because I'm overworked and consequently underpaid. So I'm asking that you guys really think about what you're doing or what your decisions are doing to those of us who are on the front line. We're your soldiers. We're doing the hard job. And I know a lot of you have probably gone to school and maybe had a business class, and you've heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. My husband, he did a master's program, and I was his editor of his papers. So I learned all kinds of interesting things that as a teacher I didn't know. And for those of you who don't know about Maslow and his hierarchy of needs, your basic needs have to be met before you can be creative. Our county's mission, right, our mission statement is to innovate, empower, and engage I can't do that if I'm exhausted. I can't. I'm working so hard, I can't even eat lunch without working. I'm getting up early, and I'm staying at work late. So I'm working for free. And I know my CCEA people are not happy about the fact that I'm doing that. But I have to face those little faces every day, and I can't face them unless I'm giving them something worth having. So I know you guys are making hard decisions. I get it. But when you're making those hard decisions, just remember that your frontline people were exhausted. We need you badly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kim Stacy, and then Rebecca Smith.
My name's Kim Stacy. My address is on the record. I'd like to speak on the hardship that the drivers and monitors have been facing since the 31st of August.
I'm sorry, could you pull the microphone down a little more? There you go, as much as you can. Okay, thank you.
Since the 31st of August, on our very first paycheck back to work, that was justified as a clerical error. How can this happen? Why did this happen and not be corrected? This is an email. I have an email here I'd like to read, and it's probably going to go over a little bit, but I want to get it out. I was facing hardship because of not getting paid. Robert Wurmberg wrote the payroll and asked, "Hello, Margaret. I just spoke with one of my drivers, Kimberly Stacy, who is expressing she is facing extreme financial hardship due to not getting paid for the training hours. She told me she would not be able to have enough gas to get to work tomorrow if she is unable to get any pay. Is there any way you can help her? Is there any way you can help do a manual check for her training hours for this employee? Hi, Robert. We are currently running the 9/15/15 payroll, and there's no way to do a manual check during this process. I wish I would have known last week or even yesterday. I would have been able to do something. Can somebody loan her the money until Tuesday?" Yeah. You have over 300 employees affected by this and their families, and most of their families, your employees, have children and grandchildren enrolled in your school district. That was put in a hardship situation, not of their making, but by the school district's making. This was brought to your school board's attention the very same day we, your employees, found out that we were not getting all our pay. I would like to know what you, as a school board member, did to help us get our pay correct this clerical error. Wonder how the children and the family that the district affected by this feels about the school district and the board members, because believe me, it's going to take some time for the financial after effect to get straightened out. And just when it's going to stop, and just when is it going to stop, and how many more will be affected by this? Example, on my elementary, when this is going to stop, example, elementary route. Since school has been in session, my route has been 15 to 20 minutes late every day, which in return has made the students late for school and not able to eat their breakfast. With the other students in the cafeteria, instead they have to eat their breakfast in the classroom in front of other students when the class is in session. Is this what the school board is letting happen under their watch? I was contacted by the router today to tell me that I can stop dropping off early at the high school Monday, which I'm happy, because if not, they were going to pull my high school route.
Thank you, Ms. Stacy. Your 3 minutes are up.
In turn, would have given me less hours.
Thank you, Ms. Stacy.
One more thing I want to say. Y'all, every time this meeting ends, you tell us, you hear us. We feel you. We understand what you're going through. I want to ask each and every one of you, when are your actions going to speak louder than your words?
Thank you, Ms. Stacy. Rebecca Smith, and then Liz Crane.
Well, my name is Rebecca Smith, and my address is on record. As this sign says so eloquently, Clay School District pays some wages. Is that what we want the public to think? I think not. I know that y'all are saying that this is founder time that's going on, but we are very patriotic, Mr. Van Zant. I'm proud to be an American, but this shirt is not representing that. None of these shirts are representing that. We are united. I hope the message is really getting out. We're not going to go away. All we're asking is for a fair wage. We're not asking for the sun, moon, and everything to be our way. We're just asking for a fair wage. And yes, on my $75 and some change, I live within my means because I cannot afford not to. With that said, there's not much left when I put gas in the car for the month. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to say, hey, I feel your pain, I hear you? Well, guess what? None of us believe it. We got to the point now we don't believe in our school board looking out for the best interests of Clay County's kids and for your employees. We don't like feeling this way, but y'all have put us here. And to say, hey, you know, we got to tighten up. Well, I'm already so tight, I'm squeaking when I walk. Okay, I can't be no tighter. If I'm any tighter, I'm going to blow. I'm serious, people. I know we're laughing right now, but this ain't no laughing matter. This is my life. This is their life. And yes, you're going to lose people. There's people I know of that's already looking for a new job. They go to St. Johns County drivers because they make more wages. They go to Palatka. Hey, Palatka is one of the poorest counties, and they got air conditioners in their buses. Go figure. Go figure that one. So, you know, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I'm disrespected. Some of the comments, maybe you didn't intend it to be, but it come across disrespecting. Now, I do realize you're my boss, and you do respect, but I am too. That's all I got to say.
Miss Liz Crane.
And then Patty Garridow. Did I say that right? Okay, I'm sorry. Ms. Crane.
Liz Crane, you have my address for the record. Good evening. 20 years ago, a young woman named Mrs. Jones decided to become a teacher in Clay County. This teacher has numerous areas of certification, has her national board certification, and has been Teacher of the Year not just once but twice. An average week for her includes arriving to school daily prior to her contract hours so she can work with students on their projects, teaching and attending meetings during the day, spending hours after school working on lesson prep, grading paperwork, cleaning, setting up her classroom for the next day, emailing, helping other teachers, helping students, and the list goes on. She also comes in on weekends too. During that time, she does what she couldn't complete during the week. When she goes grocery shopping, she will often purchase things out of her own pocket for her students. Those items could be cereal for an activity or cupcakes for a job well done. While Mrs. Jones is not physically present at school, she's at home searching on the internet for new ways to help her students, and she's watching those PD 360 videos. The average amount that teachers will dig into their own pockets comes to approximately $1,000 per year. The teacher example above has also given approximately 29 personal hours per week. Using the average teacher salary, the cost is about $1,033 per week. This amounts to close to $30,000 per year she's giving up. That is a lot of money. Most would say, why does she do this? She isn't paid to do all of that. Why is she personally spending $1,000 for things to do her job? I'll tell you why. It is because Mrs. Jones, like 99.9% of us, of all teachers, demand the best, not what is just good enough. Even when management does not provide, we do. We demand the best, not what is just good enough of ourselves, because we demand the best of our students, not what is just good enough. We are not interested in mediocrity. We are not interested in our students completing mediocre work. We want the best, not what is just good enough. So what is the cost aside from monetary? Since Mrs. Jones demands the best, she does not have time to go to the doctor. She does not have time to cook healthy meals. She does not have time to socialize with friends. She also doesn't have the funds to pay for those things. The cost is Mrs. Jones. Our educators do an excellent job taking care of the students. The time is long overdue for you, management, to take care of the employees. Mrs. Jones is every teacher that's here tonight. Mrs. Jones is every teacher who is watching at home while grading, researching, and preparing lessons. Mrs. Jones is every teacher who's still in her classroom preparing for the next day. We need more time, we need more money, we need better benefits. Mrs. Jones wants to know, when are you going to take care of us? Mrs. Jones is anxiously awaiting your answer.
Hi, I'm Patty Gerardo. You have my address on your card. I did not come here prepared to even speak tonight. I have nothing prepared except for something that I want to say from my heart. One of my co-workers, friends, Ms. Palmer, spoke earlier. When she's been telling me that she's making less than she did 4 years ago, it broke my heart because she's a single mother and she's got grandchildren too. She's at school, first one at school, last one to leave. She works so hard. She works on Saturdays, and I just want to say, she's a role model for the students. Our principal, Mrs. Phillips, is always also there, first thing in the morning, last one to leave, and all day on Saturday also. She's continued to be a support to us anytime that we need something. I am one of the lucky ones that I have a husband that has supported my job. He's also supported our family. When I was being raised by my parents, my father used to say, if you get a degree, you won't ever have to worry about running out of money. You'll be able to support your family. My husband had a degree. I have a degree. I'm sorry, I need some water. But I was thinking about it when Ms. Palmer was talking, that when my husband started supporting our family of four, he made more in the 80s, the early 80s. He was making more when I was a stay-at-home mom with our two daughters who are over 30. Thank you. I'm so dry. When my husband and I started our family in the early 80s, and he wanted me to be a stay-at-home mom, which I was, he was making more in 1983 than I'm making now. He was making more with his degree in the early 80s than I'm making now. When I was going to school in the early 60s, a teacher was such a high standard profession. Everybody respected the teachers. It's not like that today. Most teachers work because they love kids. I love kids. I'm even embarrassed to say that I didn't even know how much I made until I started looking at the direct deposits. I'm fortunate to have a husband that has supported my job and supported our family. And my children even went through the Clay County schools, and one of them is a teacher today. I hope that you think about the single mothers who can't even afford to pay health insurance or even pay for their kids' groceries and health care. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our last speaker is Ms. Tracy Butler.
I think you've seen this initiative grow. This is just the beginning.
we will be taking it to the streets next. All right? We're going to be talking to parents. We got the press out here tonight. We are not finished. Okay? But I do want to talk, and I think that Ms. Bizio actually touched on quite a few things that I want to deal with right now, and that is this district's tanking. Okay? You've been here for 3 years, superintendent, and we have a very bad financial situation. We hear it every single day. We're tired of hearing it. But that's not the only thing that is messed up right now. A lot is messed up. And I think that we need to ask you to rise up and do something different, because I'm afraid somebody else will be sitting in that seat. So let me start with a couple of things that I'm dealing with right now. First of all, the issue with the driver's pay. I want you to know that was 15 days of mortal, you know what, okay? Those folks, I had to listen to those stories. It was very difficult. And on the very day that it happened, I went to Mr. Brodsky and I told him it had to be fixed. I was told it couldn't happen. I was going to have to wait till the next pay. I said, I don't care if we get people up here, everybody in this district, and scratch out checks. Let's get these people. He said, it can't happen. I filed a ULP. I filed a grievance. And I've also lodged a complaint with the Fair Labor Standard Act. We are not going to keep treating these people this way. I want to tell you another thing. I'm sure the board doesn't know this. These folks don't know how to follow the contract. And we have a contract for a reason. I've got 8 grievances. Today, 1 elevated to an arbitration. I've got 4 unfair labor practices. I've been in this district for 4 years, and I have yet to file an unfair labor practice. I got 4 of them now. And I had 3 demand to bargains, and I've got another one that's waiting in the wings. The folks that you chose to put in these positions were not ready. And now I'm sitting here trying to hold up this place and keep these people from being abused, and it's out of control.
Thank you, Ms. Butler. Okay, superintendent requests.
I have a few items just to add some clarity tonight. I've heard several times tonight that the number of administrators in the county office grew this year in the 15-16 school year. And actually the opposite's true. There are several less positions in the district office. I sat down myself with people I've known for decades that were retirement ready and had to go ahead and ease them into retirement and combine a lot of positions. To do that, and as a result of that, we are now spending almost $1 million less this school year in district office personnel than we did the year before. It's not enough, it's not where we want to be, but we are spending less. What everybody in this school district is paid is exactly what their salary schedule for their band and grade or their administrative position is, that is authorized by this board, mandates. I can't pay them any more or any less without bargaining it with the union, and we are at bargaining. On the third time out at bargaining, the third session, the union declared impasse and walked away from the table. Our salaries, they shouldn't be able to interrupt me.
Yeah, can you guys please, at this time, just hold your applause for the end, please?
And our salaries, the amount of this budget we spend in salaries is actually down 4% from this past year. Staff had a couple items maybe that they wanted to cover. Some things were mentioned. If any of you would like to speak, just raise your hand. If not, we'll go on. Good. Mr. Umbaugh.
We had checked into the, one of the speakers had mentioned the 6th grade science texts.
Did some checking. Those were custom printed for Clay. We ordered those back on March the 2nd, so they were on back order for months. They finally made their way to the Florida School Book Depository about 2 days ago. We've been calling every day on it. We should see those very soon. As for the speaker from Orange Park High, who mentioned he was a couple of ELA books short, that's the first that my division was hearing of it, so we'll get with the Orange Park High admin team. We'll get that fixed.
Thank you. Is that it? Okay, school board requests. I think I'd like to start off tonight. First of all, I took notes. I want to thank all of you for speaking. I took a lot of notes here, pages of notes, and one of the things that I would just like to address, one of the things that was a little alarming to me was the pay that was affected. I did see the emails on that, and one of the things that I would like to ask that I never really got follow-up on was what caused that to happen, and this is what I would like to know. I'd like for that report to at least be given back to the board. What caused that to happen? Because we heard that it happened, but we were never told why it happened. And secondly, I want to know what the district is going to do to make sure that that never happens again, because nobody should have to go without pay, especially for 15 days. So I would like that to be investigated, and I would like that answer to be presented back to every board member, at least, as soon as you can. And I think it would be prudent to at least also provide that explanation to the people who were affected by it. So that's a request that I'm asking. Let's see, one of the other ones. I heard job descriptions not available on the website today. I heard things like Blackboard being offline and teachers losing hours of work. I'm not sure if any of that could have been prevented, but and I'm not sure how much advertising was done that was going to happen. But that, to me, that's the last day of school. That's probably not real satisfactory. Also pretty concerned about the cost for the monthly insurance. I know, I've been here, this is my third year here, and I know that when the committee that gets together that, goes out and gets the RFP for these insurance benefits, I know that a lot of that is talked about and discussed, and I don't know how much of the actual employee buy-in that those committees get, but I know that that what was offered, to me, it sounded like it was the best offer that was made, and so I'm not saying that it's good, but I'm just wondering that if that's too high, then what I want to know is what are you guys willing to have less of in order for that to go down. I don't know. I don't negotiate that, but yeah. So anyway, just that's a little concerning, is the cost for monthly insurance. Okay. Just a couple other things that I'd like to mention. Just a reminder to my fellow board members about the FSBA ethics training that's coming up. I know it's due at the end of the year. For those that do not attend the FSBA conference, you can do that training online. It's available now. So the other thing is that I just wanted to say that I'm honored and privileged to be invited on September 30th to speak to a group of students right here at Fleming Island High School for Meet a Veterans Day. I'm certainly honored to be representing all female veterans and the United States Navy in that endeavor, so I'm looking kind of forward to that. That's all I have. Ms. Condon?
I will start with that I actually sit on the insurance committee. As the board representative, and I'm not a voting member unless it goes to RFP. I have not yet filled my first full year either on the board or on that committee. And just a few things, that committee works very hard. It is made up of a number of members of the CCEA, the CESPA, and then some administrative members, and they really are a good collaborative team. There's lots of good discussion that goes on. So when it came time for the proposal to be given to that committee last spring, it opened my eyes to one of the downsides of living in a capitalistic society, because these health insurance companies are for-profit companies, and so they don't really care about the people that are behind their product. They are selling a product, and they just sell it. And so they came to us and told us that we were going to be offered this much of a rate increase, but because our staff and employees that are on the policies are so healthy, that they were willing to discount that renewal. Even though it was an increase, it was going to be less of an increase. So then asking more questions of our broker, and we have a really, really good, knowledgeable broker who comes and answers all of our questions. And they not only have they tried to negotiate on our behalf, but they actually cut their commission so that our rate would be less. And what we found out is that because of the size of our district, the number of employees that we have, there were only about 4 companies who would even bid on our insurance. And then one of those companies was bought by one of the other ones. And so now there are 3. I don't know if the committee this fall will vote to go to RFP. But that certainly is an option to go out and look at that again. And at that point, Ms. Paiva and I would become voting members on that committee as well as the rest of the committee. We sit in the back and listen for the most part, although I ask a lot of questions. But and so that was kind of interesting to me that we have more employees to insure, so fewer companies are interested in the business. That seems counterintuitive to me. It also was sad that they were saying, you're so healthy that we're not going to give you as much of an increase. And it was kind of insulting the way that it was delivered from the person that works for Florida Blue. Was actually very callous in the way that he delivered that, and I think that didn't make the message any more well received. I don't think it would have been well received either way, but he was very insulting. Someone mentioned that they had gotten a letter from their health insurance company that they were going to get money back. I didn't. I do have our district insurance, and I did not get that letter, so I'm interested to find out. We have an insurance committee meeting next week, and so I will definitely, if no one else asks that question, I will ask about that because I didn't get it. And I also would just say that I don't think that I don't think that our financial picture is acceptable at all. I am committed to looking for additional sources of funding. I think as a district and a county, we may have to get very creative and maybe make some decisions that are even harder than the ones that we think we're faced with. We may have to look at some real drastic changes because I'm not sure that Ms. Paiva would say we always agree, but there is one thing that I do agree with her on. You cannot cut your way to a better financial picture. You have to look for other sources of revenue, and that sometimes is more painful than the cuts. So I am committed to looking at that, to being creative. And then the only other thing that I would say is I'm sorry that Focus hasn't worked well for Ms. Mayberry, because the new Digital Trailblazer team, Linda Shriver, Kathy Schofield, Dwayne Weeks, Sabrina, and then that whole Digital Trailblazer team, when they came and presented to us, it looked really innovative, and I'll be honest, I didn't really understand most of what they said. It was kind of like somebody was speaking Greek, and I was just sitting in the room. And then at open house, I actually got to talk with one of my son's teachers, who says that it's the best educational tool he's had in a long time. He really appreciates having it, And I have used it as a parent, and as the parent of a child who's about to be 17, he's not real interested in talking to me about what's going on in his class, and so it's opened up an opportunity for dialogue around our dinner table. So I'm really grateful that that is working well for, I guess, some, and maybe at some point it will for everyone. But I am grateful for what all employees in our county do and our district do for the children, because that's why we are all here.
Ms. Kirkus.
Well, some of the things I was going to ask is what's been talked about tonight, the textbooks, which have been addressed already, although, Mr. Umbar, I'm shocked to hear that books were ordered in March, and here we are 6 months later, and we're expecting them any day. Inexcusable. And I know it's not your fault. You're new to the job, but you walked into a load of you-know-what, and so you're going to have to figure out how to make sure they have every tool they need to educate our kids. This is inexcusable, and I've heard it several times about the science textbooks, and I talked to Ms. Cornegay, and she said, and not specifically the 6th grade, but she's made sure that the supplements were there and what they needed, and I think maybe it's just a matter of communication. So please, let's make sure they have the tools they need. I got calls about the bus driver's salary, and it doesn't matter how much money you make. When you're used to living on one set salary and it's cut, you feel it. And I called down and I asked, what's going on, and could they run another payroll, and I was told no, they couldn't. And to me, that's bizarre. I don't understand why we can't run another payroll to make sure this doesn't happen. I think I've said it before. I know Mrs. Studdard has said it. I've talked about 88%. Now we're down to 84% in salaries. I've talked about, I believe we're top heavy. I've said it before. I think our admin has to be looked at. And Mr. Van Zandt, you've said it twice. You said it tonight, and you said it at the budget workshop the other day, that those promotions were in the administrative allocation package that this board adopted, and it's all based on this admin salary schedule that this board adopted. So I just want to remind everybody that 3 members on this board voted for that, and 2 members voted against it. Not everybody has voted in favor of that. So I just want to remind you that some of us are talking about cuts, and the majority of the board is what happens, and so we need to look at this. We need to address it. We have confidential secretaries making $65,000 and $68,000. We have so many staff members, and I agree that, yes, we did reduce the district number of employees, but again, the IT department increased. They could have saved a lot more. Their total savings from June 15th to August 15th was $160,000, not $300,000. 13 people got increases, which amounted to $119,000. And let me clarify one other thing. One person said that we are number 2 in the state. We're number 2 on the number of dollars, the amount of dollars that go back into the state. But anybody go and check, we're number 19 in the state. We have dropped and dropped and dropped. So this advertising that's going on to paint this picture for maybe re-election or whatever, I don't know, has got to stop. We have got to address the budget. We've just approved a budget that's been brought to us by the superintendent that, we're going to be at, what was it, Ms. Lugacco, 2.38 by the end of this year for our fund balance? Embarrassing. This is embarrassing. So, I'm not going to say I hear you because somebody just called me out for that today, but I did hear you. So anyway, thank you.
Ms. Gilhousen.
I don't have anything to add that's not already been said. I know it's not easy to approach this podium and speak to this board, especially when you're fuming and angry about what's happening and you feel like you've been disrespected and not receiving what you would deem to be adequate pay. And from the bottom of my heart, I'm very sorry that you feel that way and that you're feeling burnout and tired in your jobs. That is certainly not what any of us would want for any of you, and certainly not for our children.
There's no arguing the fact that we are in a difficult place financially, and we're doing everything we can to get back to where we need to be. And I would hope that we will have the opportunity to give the action that we're reflecting in our words. On another note, I had the opportunity to speak with a class at Lake Asbury Junior High School this last month, and I can't tell you what a privilege it was. I see why you do what you do. It's certainly not for the money, but for those faces that sit in your classrooms every day. And I appreciate that, and I was very honored to have the opportunity to see it in action. So,
Thank you, Ms. Gilhausen. Ms. Studdard?
Boy, this is one night. Being last, I don't know, but I was just jotting a couple notes, just things I was thinking about. I'm not. Number one, I think anybody sitting in this room can agree the cost of health care, not just in Clay County, but everywhere, it is beyond ridiculous what people are having to pay. The insurance companies are dictating your health care and our health care, and, you know, I don't know what we can do about it except, you know, we depend on the insurance committee, but they come to us and they always want to start off with a 20% increase, and we scream, it's a game. They come in and say, we're going to get 20%, then we scream and holler, and they say, oh, well, it'll only be 12, you know, and it's the art of the stupid game that's played every year, and y'all know it, and they come in higher than they know that they're going to get, and we come up and we cough it up. And, you know, in past years, you know, the board has tried to absorb the cost, and there were years that we were fortunately able to do that. And I for one person am just sick about the cost of health insurance. To have someone, I think last month, say that they had to pay the school district to work for us, and then someone said tonight they had to sell their deceased husband's wedding ring to get, I mean, how can we live with ourselves with things like that? You know, that is just not right, and we're in this together. It's health care cost, and I just wish that there was some kind of way that we can fix it. You know, I'm open to whatever we can do on that, but I don't think the Clay County School Board is going to correct the cost of health insurance. I think that's a lot above our pay grade, but I just want you to know I think it's a travesty what y'all are saying. I mean, it's just crazy. And all the things that were said tonight from the groups of people who spoke, I was just sitting here thinking about the perception that our employees have of what is going on, and I can understand how you could have that perception by some of the things that you've seen transpire in the district. It is absolutely heartbreaking to have your teachers and your bus drivers and your employees come up here and literally beg for respect and money. I mean, that should never, ever happen. And I know one of them said, don't tell us you're sorry and you feel for us and all that. But I got to tell you, I feel for you, because that's just not right, and I don't know how to fix it, but I'm going to do what I can to try to fix it. And that's, you know, I don't have a crystal ball, but I think everybody up here does feel for it. And, you know, driving home after this meeting tonight, I'll be thinking about what you have said, and I will carry it with me, and I think everybody up here will. I mean, I want to make it better. I just don't know how right this minute, but I'm going to try to make it better. That's all I can say. And on a personal note, if I may, my wedding anniversary is Saturday, and I want to say happy anniversary to James.
Oh, how many years?
51.
Oh, wow. A golden +1. Congratulations. Okay. Attorney requests. Okay, with that, this meeting is adjourned. Not too bad, 2.5 hours. That was rough, huh?